More than a decade after the introduction of TaskMap and TaskMap Professional, Harvard Computing Group launched TaskMap Lite to leverage advances in both Visio and their own knowledge over that period. TaskMap Lite represents the state-of-the-art in using Visio smart shapes to maximize the value of a process map while minimizing the work required to create it. When you launch a new TaskMap Lite diagram from the template, you'll see this page. It includes some information, background about TaskMap Lite, some of the differences between TaskMap Lite and advantages you'll have with either TaskMap Standard or TaskMap Professional, and some tips in this section on the right to help you get started and work more quickly with TaskMap Lite. If you would prefer to use this page for a process map, you can simply select all, and I would deselect the title, the logo, and the legend, and then press the delete key and you have a page on which you can work. I'm going to put those things back by undo because I find that for many people, having that explanation for their users, including the larger legend here, is very helpful. Let's now go to page B, and I'll start by changing the page name. I just double-clicked on the page name tab. I'll leave the letter B, and we're going to create an HR recruiting process map, or the first part of it, on this page. We'll begin by dropping a start shape onto the page and dragging a task shape. And I'm going to use the dynamic feedback to make sure that this is aligned at the middle of the start shape. And notice the double-headed arrow ensures that the spacing is consistent across all shape pairs on the page. Next, I'll use the auto-connect arrow to fire a task link across that gap. And I'll actually use the auto-connect to add a new task link and task all at the same time. And I can continue to do that to lay out my process very quickly. From there, select a task link, and in this case, for this HR process, I'm going to indicate that a hiring manager has come to HR and said, I need a person to fill this position. Simply typing the text in the description box in the shape data window causes it to appear on the process map. For the tasks, you can actually type the description in the shape data window the same way I just showed you, or you can actually enter it right on the task shape. So with task B01 selected, I can type log job request. And as soon as I tap outside of that box, then that data value is both on the box and in the shape data window. The other data fields do require that you enter the values in the shape data window. For a responsible role, I have a recruiter. Guideline 1 is a policy manual. I could add a second guideline if I wanted to. Resource 1 will be the HR information system, HRIS. Again, I could add a second resource if I had one. By the way, as you'll notice, each time I enter a data value in the shape data window, it's represented on the task in a specific way. Supporting role, in this case, there's an HR manager who's available for advice or consent if need be. And I've now completed a description of that task and could continue on with others on the page. Instead, what I'm going to do is go to the next page, and let's change the name of this page to onboarding. So we'll assume that the process for recruiting is on page B and the onboarding process is on page C. I'm just going to drop a couple of tasks here and then go back to page B, and you'll see why I've done that in just a second. What I want to do now is show that this map continues on the next page. So once we've done the steps of recruiting, we want to move to the next page, and that's the purpose of the connector shape. So I'll drag one here and once again use those dynamic feedback arrows and lines from Visio in order to position that properly. I could use the Auto Connect and Quick Shapes menu to fire one on the page as well. And I'll add a label for reasons that will become clear in just a moment and connect it to the connector shape. Notice the label immediately says we're not linked to a page and we're not linked to a particular task. So what's that about? That's about the fact that we want to actually enter a value into the target page name by selecting it from the drop-down list. So onboarding is our target. Now that's represented both inside the connector shape and on the label. So the label is providing some additional value here for the user. If we want to, we can link to a specific task on the target page. To do that, we need to do one thing first. We need to go to the target page, select the target task, and look at its internal Visio name, task.46 in this particular case, and then simply come back, select the connector, and type that in, task.46. What that does for us is automatically update the label so it shows the page name, and it also shows the task description, which in this case hasn't been changed from the default. We'll do that in a moment. But first, let's follow the hyperlink. Control-click, go to this task, and let's change the description to Issue ID Card, just as an example of an onboarding task. And before we return to the previous page, let's actually add a connector in the reverse direction here, which is the normal thing we would do. So I will do that. I will add the label, fire a task link arrow across the gap, and in this case, select this task, and let's just return to page B. We'll leave it at that. Let's follow the hyperlink back. And now you notice when we zoom in that the label shape has been automatically updated by a change on the other page to reflect the task description. That's pretty much all you need to know in order to be able to drop tasks on the page, edit their data values either on the task in the case of the task description or in the shape data window for all other data attributes, use the connector and the labels to guide the reader from page to page as your process expands across multiple pages.